Tomorrow's your chasna, isn't it? I think it's a Kiddush Hashem that you come on the same one.
No, it's your chasna.
Yeah, well, second time.
Ah,
We'll get that eventually.
actually, we're going to get there.
Waiting list.
No, wait, it's a long word. 3 months.
Cooling off period.
Cooling off period. Yeah.
That's a long one.
I just say very, very briefly. I mentioned yesterday the story about the story of the child that asked for a car, and he got it. It's a very, very beautiful story. There was a group of girls that worked very hard. The teacher decided to take them to Tzfas as a prize, and went to the Rizal's shul. And she had a 2-year-old child. There was a child. She wanted not to take him with because she knew that. But what happened was she couldn't find her husband couldn't do it. I don't know, whatever reason may be, she ended up. So it was a long, long bus ride. By the time the child got to shul, he was in a hyperactive state. So she tried, because there was davening going on downstairs, to calm him down, but nothing worked. So eventually, she gave him her beautiful leather-bound siddur, to play with. And before she knew it, he'd thrown it off the balcony, crashed. She was mortified. And after davening, she comes down, and the man comes up to her and says, "By any chance, if you lose a siddur?" So she says, "Yes." So you should know what happened to me. He said, he has been to shul for years and years. And he came in late, and there wasn't a single siddur left on the shelf. He said to Hashem, "Look, I don't know davening off by heart. I haven't been here for years. I made all this effort to come to shul. Do me a favor. Give me a siddur." And he said, literally, the siddur fell down from Shemayim by his feet. So all that story, he thought that she was so upset, but my son, it was okay. We're up to Daf Einamud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. We're discussing now specifically one pasuk. If you've got a chumash, it's very, very worthwhile to it. Basically, if you take Achreimos, it goes through the avodah of Yom Kippur. And we've actually discussed this before, that most of the psukim are in order. The one pasuk which is not is pasuk Chof Gimel. Perek Zayin, pasuk Chof Gimel. And one of the difficulties is that the pasuk itself is not even so clear what it's trying to say. Let's read the pasuk. Uvo Aaron el Moed, Aaron should come into the El Moed. The Poshat is big. The Abodin should take off his clothes. And what does that mean? You should go into the El Moed to take off his clothes. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Of course, you don't take off your clothes in the El Moed. What we explain is as follows. The Aaron should go into the Amud for the second time. Why was he going to the Amud for the second time? This is Pasuk Chof Gimel. If you got Pasuk Chof Gimel clear. Why would he go into the Amud for the second time? This is to take out. So this is the Pasuk. Pasuk Chof Gimel is the only place where the Torah talks about going to the Kiddush HaKadosh for the second time. Let's go very, very briefly what we know. There's Big Day Zov, the morning Avodah, Big Day Lavan, most of the special Avodah in Kippur, Big Day Zov, 1 or 2 of the rams which she does, then Big Day Lavan to take it out, and Big Day Zov to finish off the day. So the Big Day Lavan, which is the 4th set of clothes, to take out the Kafel Machta, all we have in the Torah about 6 words. Ubo, Aaron, El Moed, that's it. It's 5 words. Aaron should come into the El Moed. What's he come in for? He comes in to take out the Kafel Machta. Now the problem is, if that would be correct, this pasuk is a continuation of all the avodah he's already been doing in white clothes. So we're going to explain that this pasuk is in the wrong order. Let's go through it slowly. It says the Gemara Kiddush Yoda v'Raglav Tonu Rabban. 2 lines to the bottom of Einamud Beis. Why does he go in? Like we just explained, to take out the fire pan and the spoon of the ketuvos. Top of Ein Aleph from Dalef. Shekula Pasha Kula. The entire Pasha of Achimus, then what I say, that was said in the correct order. Chutz Pasuk Zeh. Now this Pasuk, if it was in the right order, then this would be a continuation. For example, look at Chof Aleph, Chof Beis. What the Pasukim discussing? The avodah they did in the white clothes. Let's see Pasuk Chof Aleph. V'samachanish Yodov, it does Vidui, V'nosas Asayis. All the avodah which we've been discussing in the first white clothes. If this Pasuk was in the right order, then the Pasuk Chof Gimel would be a continuation of the first set of white clothes. He wouldn't need to go to another 4 set of clothes. He can continue in his first set of clothes. So there are 2 things actually we see from this Pasuk. One, the Gemara is mechadish, that it's in the wrong order, and it takes place later. The second chiddush is that we learned previously. What does he do with the middle close? He does the two rams. The two rams. Now, where does the Torah talk about the two rams? Let's see carefully in the pasuk. The pasuk says in Chof Dalet, "V'yotza v'achat v'sam." V'yotza, he should go out, but also say losev is oila sa'am. He should do his oila and the oila of the people. Which oila is it? It's the oila of the two rams. Rashi, look at Rashi there. Also say losev ayla oila amul malo. There's oila sa'am, v'ayla oila amul malo. The two rams which we mentioned previously. And in fact, if you look in Rashi in Chof Gimel, beginning of Chof Gimel, this is the pasuk is in the wrong place. So what we do is we change round pasuk Chof Gimel and Chof Dalet. We put Chof Gimel after Chof Dalet. That's what we're doing. Says the Gemara. My Tama, why do we do that? Why do we need to change the pasukim round? Why don't we just keep the pasukim the normal way? We know that he has to change his clothes Tovel 5 times and wash his hands and feet 10 times. If this pasuk is in the right order, if pasuk of Gimel is a continuation, then what's the problem? If then what happens is you're only going to have 3 changes of clothes: gold, white, gold. So the fact that we know that there has to be 5 sets, obviously the white has to be done twice. The white has to be done twice, therefore we have to split the white into 2. How are we going to split it? By putting the rams, which it says in Chof Dalet, before Chof Gimel. So you've got all the psukim like Yud Ches, Yud Tes, Chof is all in white clothes. Then you've got pasuk Chof Dalet in the golden clothes, that's the 2 rams. Then the Chof Gimel in the white clothes, and then later it goes back to do the golden clothes later. Now, the Gemara has established that he has to change the white clothes twice, otherwise there's not going to be 5. But the Gemara asks now a different question. Maybe instead of doing the 2 rams between the 2 white clothes, maybe he does the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz. Which one is the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz? The higot which is done outside. Which higot? Where was it talked about? That's the higot of Pashas Pinchas. The Pashas Pinchas talks about 10 korbanos, 7 sheep, 1 cow, 1 higot, and 1 ram. That higot is also done by Big Day Zohar. Who told us that that we do the 2 rams in between these 2 pesukim that Chof Dalet comes before Chof Gimel? Maybe it's the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz. What do you gain? What do you gain? Either way, the pasuk is not exact. The answer is like this. What you gain is as follows. What? No, he would have to get changed. Yeah, he would have to get changed because it'd be white, changing into the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz, which is gold, then white to take out the Ketores, and then back to gold to do the Tomid Shabbat L'Arbaim. But why the Gemara says, who told you that we do the 2 rams in gold? Maybe he does the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz in gold. But what do you gain? So let's say he does that. What major difference is? Well, how do you gain in the psukim? Let's explain. Well, how do you gain in the psukim? Oh, that's the point. That means like this. It is true that Chof Gimel is got a bit misplaced because in the end of the day, you're going to have to slip in between Chof Beis and Chof Gimel. You're going to have to slip in another avodah. Which avodah are you going to slip in between Chof Beis and Chof Gimel? Which avodah are you going to slip in? The Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz from Pinchas. But nevertheless, you gain that Chof Dalet can stay where it is. That's what I want to do after I have a chumash in front of you. Again, you've got the whole parsha starts of gold, then white, right? He changes into white clothes and does that with avodah. Then you've got Chof Gimel, which is the avodah, which is also done in white clothes, which is taking out the ketores. The Gemara says that really that comes after Chof Dalet, and in between it does the 2 rams. Says the Gemara, what makes you say that? Because otherwise there's no 5 changes of clothes, only 3 changes of clothes. Frei the Gemara, but who told you to slip in Chof Dalet before Chof Gimel, the 2 rams? Better slip in the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz of Pashas Pinchas, which the Torah, for whatever reason, doesn't talk about here. And in that way you gain that Chof Gimel and Chof Dalet is in the right order. Just before Chof Gimel, you've added in the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz. That is a big advantage. If Pasuk of Dalet says he shall go out and do his oila, which is the ram. The moment that he leaves the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that's when he does the rams. Meaning, what does it say goes out to do the rams? What's the chiddush of a yotza? The first time he goes out. When was inside? For all that avoid the big day lovam. So the first time that he goes out of the big day lovam, the first job he does is the rams. So therefore you can't slip in the Sa'ah Naisa B'chutz. Is it clear? Okay, the Gemara now gives another explanation to how we know that Chav Gimel and Chav Dalet are inverted. The pasuk says, "Upashat is big abod." Look at pasuk Chav Gimel. Anybody work out which words in this pasuk are superfluous? Why is it superfluous? Because you never take off clothes unless you've worn them. The pasuk says, "Take off the clothes that he's wearing." Which other clothes would he take off? He can't take off any other clothes. So why is it possible to say he should take off the clothes that he is wearing? Says Rabbi, does a person take off any mashalovish? And the pasuk is like this: he should take off the clothes which he has already once worn previously. What does that mean? That this is the second time that he's wearing these clothes. Is a raya that in this pasuk itself it clearly says that he's already had another change of clothing. Is a proof that something must have happened before Chav Gimel, because otherwise, why did he change clothes? If you continue the way the Parasha said that he did everything in white clothes, why would the pasuk to Chav Gimel, which is a continuation of the white clothes, does it say take off the clothes that he wore, meaning that he's already worn it previously, and this is a second set? Why is it the second set? Vedic more the same question. Maybe the avodah that he has to do is the outside he goat. What do you gain by saying that's the outside he goat? It's very simple, because then you keep Chav Dalet where it is, and all you do is adding something before Chav Gimel. And it says, let me say this. We'll go again. There were 5 changes of clothes: gold, white, gold, white, gold. The Torah puts it gold, white, white, then gold. From that we see that you have to add in gold somewhere. The Gemara says you add in the 2 rams. The question is, why don't you add in the soy? Answer, because then you would probably be yotzo. When he goes out to do the rams. We have 2 proofs as to why it is that it can't be that the white is directly after the white. Either because otherwise you won't have 5 changes of clothes, or because the Torah says he should take off the clothes that he wore, which that he wore was spare, to teach us that what he once wore previously, meaning this is the second time he's wearing his clothes. So therefore, it's obviously there must be something in between. Now, the Gemara said everything was said in order except for pasuk Chav Gimel and Chav Dalet. Asks the Gemara, is that true? Says the Gemara, there's everything in order. The pasuk says like this: the chilul of the chatos is put on the mizbeach. That's pasuk Chav Hey. The chilul of chatos actually mizbeach. What does that mean? What's chilul of chatos actually mizbeach mean? What's that pasuk telling us? Oh, which pa? Right, the pa, which is sprinkled inside. And only a small amount goes to Mizbeach. The rest of it, what happens to it? Burnt where? Outside 3 camps. Now, where does the Torah tell us about burning it outside the 3 camps? That's the pasuk of Zayin. So a simple reading of the pasuk, if you read it Chav Hey, Chav Vav, Chav Zayin, how would you read it? First the fats, then you burn the actual body of the cow outside the 3 camps. That is the simple reading of the pasuk. Is that true? No. He actually burned the main body long before he would burn the fats. We're going to prove it. Let's see it again. We learned in our Mishnah when he's laning and they were when the Kohen Gadol was laning, that is when they burnt it outside the machnas. When did he lane? Does anybody remember which set of clothes was it? Yes, the Mishnah says he could do, but if he didn't, which clothes? White. Which of the 5? What number would you call it? 2. 2. Now, when did he burn the fats of the chatos? Either 3 or 5. It's a machlekas. So definitely one thing we're sure about is that the burning of the fats of the chatos existed long after. Now, if you look at the pasuk, it says it before. Once the Torah changed the order, then already the Torah did not keep to the order, and indeed, the order is incorrect. So means indeed, it's not the only pasuk, there's a few pasukim incorrect in order. Why turn around pasukim? That means Chav Hey and Chav Zayin. Chav Hey tells us burn the fats, and Chav Zayin means burns the body of the cow. Why do you say that Chav Hey came later? Let's change the Mishnah. If you look at pasuk Chav Vav, the ones who sent the soy has to wash his clothes. A pasuk of Ches, both of them have a common denominator in that they have to tovel and wash the clothes. Ma Mishalech Demiko. Just like the Shalach Pashas came earlier, because how do you know it came earlier? Because if you look in Pasuk Chof Beis, it already talks about so the sending of the soil happened previously. After that also happened previously. The word V'hamishaleach v'haslev is similar in grammar. Both are describing, and the one that did X, the one who burned, the one who sent. Now, the one who sent is something that happened previously. How do you know it happened previously? Because the pasuk mentions it already in Pasuk of Beis. So also the Aslev is past tense. Oh, very good. We'll ask that straight away. But Pashtus, we would say Chafes is in the right place, and therefore V'hamishaleach is previously. And therefore, V'aseyef is also previously, and that teaches us that what happened first? First, you burned the actual body, and only later you did the fat, which is chafei. Adrabah says more massive to hashta v'salech to hashta. Let's say the other way around, like Ben said, and let's just say that the pasuk in the Chof Beis, which tells us that you send the soil, is in the wrong place. That should be really later, and it's referring it about a future event. Says the Gemara, v'meshaleach demikoa mashma. Since the Shalach is past tense, the one who has already sent, we don't want to say it's past a future tense. Therefore, since the pasuk says the Shalach is past tense and the Asif is past tense, so therefore we know that it's already been burnt. If it's already been burnt, it means it was previously burnt. Therefore, we say the pasuk of Zayin actually happens before pasuk of Hey. Rava might got another proof that it wasn't future, that the soil wasn't sent later, after. How was the other proof? Omar kol Yoma Chai. You should keep it alive. But how long should you keep it alive? The pasuk says you should keep it alive on. That's the pasuk. It's a pasuk much earlier. Georis, right? As Shalom goes, pasuk Yud. Yom Chai lifnei Hashem lechape olav. As long as you need to do kapor on the other one, which is as long as you're doing zvika on the other one. When do you have to keep the soil alive? Only while you're sprinkling the blood. That happened long before. So therefore, obviously, the sending of the soil happened previously. So therefore, you're not going to say that the soil was a later event, like the soil was a later event. That means the Gemara understands that the Shalach v'Asif is a Gzerah, that they're both the same. So the Gemara suggests maybe the sending of the soil was also later. It says, well, that's not true. Because the Pasuk Yud earlier, it says, Yom Chai only ad lechape olav. Only while there was a kapor. While was the kapor? Was the sprinkle of the blood. Immediately afterwards, you can send it to go ready to its death. So therefore, it's obviously that did not happen later, but what happened much previously. So two reasons to prove it happened earlier. Either because it's past tense, or because the Torah says that you should keep it alive only while there's a kapor, and then there's no, the kapor is already finished. Now we've got much lighter Gemara. This is very easy. Osim b'shalach. That means, let's say it was your job. Who could send the solar azazah? Who could do the job? Anyone. What did the Kohanim do? They grabbed the job for themselves. These difficult Kohanim. Osim b'shalach. But the next day, imagine you had a long walk. How far did you walk approximately? 12 mil. 12 mil, he says, right, about 10, 12 kilometers. Motzim b'shuk leKohen Gadol. He finds the Kohen Gadol in a marketplace the day after Yom Kippur. He says to him, Ishi Kohen Gadol, my master, the Kohen Gadol, we did what you asked. Motzim b'Beis comes to his house. He says to him, the one who brings life to those who are alive. We did his shliach of Hashem. 2 points very briefly. Why did he greet him differently at home to the marketplace? In the marketplace, he says to him, we did your job. But if it's at home, he says, I did Hashem's job. Why? What's the difference? The answer is, in public, one has to give cover to the Kohen Gadol. So you pretend as if you're doing it for his sake. You say, we did yours. At home, privately, you could already talk about the greatness of Hashem and you say Hashem's job. That is Rashi, Ben Yoda, etc. The Maharsha has one small point, is Mechayeh Chaim. There are many names to call Hashem. Here we give him the name, the one who brings life to everybody. Why would you choose that name? The answer is, the pushing off the Azazel was a tremendous act of destruction. His body was torn into pieces. And the reason was, it was a kapor for the whole of Klal Yisrael that they should live. So therefore, the person who did it said to the Kohen Gadol that the one who wants life for Klal Yisrael, that is why I did it, to push the soil Azazel. Omar Rabbi Kvitu Rabbi Ma'adodi, when somebody would say bye to each other, they would say as for Ochi. The one who gives life, a long life, a good life, and a fixed life. Now the Gemara talks a little bit about life and a few agadah which connect slightly. I should walk in front of Hashem in the land of life. Where's the land of life? Oh my goodness, it's the marketplace. In the olden days, getting food was very, very difficult. If you went to a place where there was a nice market, you could buy food. So where's the land of life? Where there's an abundance of food. It is interesting how nowadays it's all changed, and there's an abundance of produce, but a very limited amount of customers. Nowadays, the main effort is to find the customers. The merchandise we've got is to find customers. But our grandmother told me many, many times after the Second World War, you'd go from shop to shop. None of the shops had anything. Looking for produce was a major, major difficulty. You know, if a shop would have tea, then people would come clamoring there because everybody, it was the shopkeeper had the upper hand. And in times of war, that's what it seems like. So the land of life was a place where there was a lot of marketplaces. Another more about life. Long life and years of life. What's mean years of life? All years of life. Sometimes a person can have years of bitterness and it changes to the good. So it's like he's got years of life. Till then he had years of misery. Now he's got years of life. Ash gives an example of somebody who was very, very poor and becomes wealthy. This pasuk is referring to Talmidei Chachamim, and the pasuk there initially is describing that he calls the Talmidei Chachamim that they should announce their Torah in the streets. Now, normal word for people is anoshim. The word ishim is similar to the word isha, woman. Talmidei Chachamim compared to women, in the sense that women are weak. Talmidei Chachamim are also often not well. They do strength like men. What way are they strong like men? The Mashal says they're able to control themselves. So Talmidei Chachamim are strong like men. Others, but the other says that Talmidei Chachamim are able to create miracles through the words, so they can do acts of greatness through the tefillahs, etc. Either way, they're like women in strength, but they do acts of greatness. A person wants to pour wine in Mizbeach nowadays when there's no Mizbeach. He should pour wine down the throat of the Chachamim. The word ishim is similar to the word isha. Isha means a fire offering. So the pasuk compares the Chachamim to a fire offering that if a person can't give to the Mizbeach, he should give to the Talmidei Chachamim. A person sees, unfortunately, that his children are not learning Torah. The daughter of Talmid Chacham. There are many explanations. What does that help? He's already got children. Oh, it's very too late. Mashal asks, it's very too late. So Mashal says, we're talking about that his sons, he should look for his sons to marry a daughter of Talmid Chacham, and that will bring him back, his sons back. The Meiri says he should marry a second wife. That means by having a second wife, that's what I said before. You said the thing. More talks about the extra one. He should marry a second wife, and that way he should influence the family. Others say that it means that when his wife dies and he sees that his first sons do not succeed, he should marry again, but this time make sure to marry Bas Talmid Chacham, that at least have some children learning the Torah. Shenemam Yaskin Bo, his first comes old in the land, Shirosha, his roots, Ubaafin Yomos Gizer, and in dust his branches shall die. Branches is a symbol of children. And Aleph from Beis, top line. Mireach Mayim, from the smell of water, which is Torah, which compared to water, Yafriach, it shall sprout. But also Kotzi, it shall make a harvest, not like something just planted. Everybody accompanied him. When they left the Kohen Gadol, and went after Shema B'Avtalion. Now, what was special about Shema B'Avtalion, besides from many other things, was they were descended from Goyim. They were descended from Gavin. So what happened was the Seif Osu, when they went, Shema B'Avtalion after the Kohen Gadol. When it was part of the journey, so they said bye to the Kohen Gadol. So the Kohen Gadol was very upset with the zilzal that everybody left him to walk with Shema B'Avtalion. He said, Yesu b'nei Ammon and Shalom, those descended from Goyim should go home in peace, which was a insult. Amulei, they said to him, Yesu b'nei Ammon and Shalom, those descended from Goyim should go to peace. The Ovdin of the Aaron that behave like Aaron, but the Yesi by Aaron and Shalom, the son of Aaron, shouldn't go to peace. The Ovid of the Aaron that does not behave like Aaron. Aaron is the word of Shalom, and you speak with such insults. Once mentioned this, I said mentioned an unbelievable Maharal. Mentioned this on this Gemara. The Gemara says Yekohim Pninim. Masha also says it. Yekohim Pninim. That Torah is more important. Pninim Mikohen Gadol Shenichnas Lifnai V'Lifnim. The Maharal says there are 3 kedushas in this world. The most Kodesh person is the Kohen Gadol. The most Kodesh day is Yom Kippur. The most Kodesh place is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The most Kodesh person on the most Kodesh day goes to the most Kodesh person, goes to the most Kodesh place. That is the Kohen Gadol going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim and Yom Kippur. All three together, time, place, and person. Says the Gemara, you call him that Torah is more important from the Kohen Gadol goes to him because the Kedusha of Torah surpasses all those three Kedushas put together. Now that we're learning Torah, it is greater the Kedusha of our learning Torah than the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur goes to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And that's why they left the Kohen Gadol to accompany Shmuel Avtalia. New Mishnah. Kohen Gadol Mishamash B'Shvin Kelim, he has 8 clothes, V'hedet V'abba. And the head, normal Kohen has wearing 4 clothes. What's the 4 clothes? Ksed is a shirt with chesayim, with trousers, mitznefes, it's a hat, a turban, ma'anei, a belt. Most of them, Kohen Gadol, choshem, ephod, in the middle of it sits. Kohen Gadol adds a choshem, which was like a breastplate with diamonds on it. But ephod was like an apron, and me'il was a long cloak. But sits, that was like a gold plate across his forehead. The elu nishalu ba'orim v'tumim. Only when he's wearing all 8 clothes can you ask the orim v'tumim. If a Kohen Gadol is not wearing all 8 clothes, you cannot ask the questions for orim v'tumim. We don't ask only a king or Ab Basin, the Ab Basin, and if the tzibur need him. That means if it's a general of an army or something like that. But otherwise, we don't. Not every individual can go to the Kohen Gadol and say, "I have a question to ask." The Gaon says we don't read Ab Basin, but rather Basin, because it's not to do with the head of the Basin, but rather that the Sanhedrin together can ask the Kohen Gadol. Tanu Rabbanan. We're going to be learning now about different materials, the me'il, the bells, the pomegranates, the bottom of the me'il, the shirt. They were all made out of many threads. And we're going to great detail the number of threads in every garment that exists in the parichas, etc. So, anything which the Torah uses the word sheish, then there were 6 threads from every material. So that's if there was 4 materials, how many threads would there be? 24, right? It means 6 per material. Moshza, if the Torah uses the word moshza, shmoina, there was 8. So, for example, if there was 3 materials out of moshza, that's 24 again. Me'il, the me'il was made out of shnei moshza, 12 threads. Periches esim v'arba, choshen ve'ephod esim v'shmoina. So we're going to spend quite some time now, we won't finish it today, or maybe we will, I don't see how much time we've got, is all the different things, how many threads each thing was. So the trousers, for example, were made out of sheish. How many threads were the trousers? 6. Oh. So how do we know? They made the shirt sheish, with snefes, the hat sheish, with palmik boys. So with snefes, sheish, with palmik boys is another pasuk sheish. There's wichtig say abad sheish, moshzo. Chamisha proiksivi. There are 5 psukim. The reason is 5, if you only count 4 over here, it says vayasis ksinis sheish. That's 1. With snefes sheish, palmik boys sheish, which is bad sheish. The 5th is bad. Bad means a linen. Sheish means linen. So 5 times uses the word linen. And Rashi says he could have just said it once. He could have just said the Yasus Aksilis which nefes was palmik voice, bad. Kulam sheish. You don't need to say 5 times the word sheish. It says 4 times the word sheish, 1 time the word bad, and bad also means linen. So 5 times you say the word linen. Rashi also asks the question that there's another one in another pasuk which talks about the Kohen Gadol sheish, and he says that's not a kasha because that pasuk is talking about the Kohen Gadol where he was wearing other clothes. You have to also tell you that there's also sheish. Okay, we'll come to you see Rashi. Okay. So Moses says, it says 5 times 5 times the Torah says the word linen. Why 5? 1 is not spare because you need to tell us the material is linen. The kitla that's linen. The word sheish literally means linen. But the word sheish can also mean 6. So one time it tells us linen, and the next time it says the word sheish, to tell you each thread is 6-fold. The chad in that they have to be twined together. The 6 threads have to be spun together. That's 3. The chad sheish, we'll find there's another item of clothing that doesn't say sheish, and we need to know exactly how it was made. The word sheish, more later, will tell us how it's applied. The chad le'akim, we've said this many times, and whenever it comes to kodshim, if the Torah only tells it to you once, then it's a mitzvah to do so. But if you don't do it, it doesn't matter. If the Torah tells it to you twice, then it's le'akim. So what are the 5 sheish? 1 that you need to tell is a linen. 2 to tell you that it's 6-fold each thread. 3 to tell you because there's a material that the Torah doesn't tell us what it's made out. One to tell you that it has to be spun together. 1 to tell you there's another item of clothing we'll see later, which the Torah doesn't tell you how to make it. We need the word sheish for there. And finally, the fifth one is that it's market. It says, well, my mashbadai shesh kitnu. How do you know that the word shesh means linen? Bad. Bad actually means single. Sword of the Talmidei Chacham that learn by themselves. Bad means single. Bad. Something that grows in a single stalk. Most things that they grow, like an apple tree, it grows, and there's many branches that grow off the trunk. The stalk of flax goes up as a single stalk, and at the top of it you'll find it. It doesn't grow off. It doesn't spread. It's not like a normal tree. Maybe it's wool. Every hair of wool grows by itself. It says, well, no. A hair of wool, as it grows, it splits into more and more. It splits. It says, well, linen as well. After you crush it to spin it, it also splits. It only splits when you bang it, but naturally linen actually grows as a single. So we know that the word bad means linen. We know the word sheish means linen because the Torah calls it bad, and bad is something which is single and it grows as a single stalk. He has another drasha. The pasuk in Yecheskel says, "Pare pishtim yual rosham." They should wear glorious turbans made out of linen on the heads. Or Michne say pishtim yual mosnem, and they should wear trousers made out of linen. And the word pishtim, everybody knows linen. Pishtim means linen. Samuel pishtim is wool and linen. The word sheish and bad, we weren't sure about. But the word pishtim, we know what the word pishtim means. So therefore, since Yecheskel tells us that kohanim should wear linen, and the Torah says that kohanim should wear sheish, so therefore we can work out that when the Torah says sheish, Yecheskel was the one who explained to us that sheish means linen. But before Yecheskel, how did we know? All the years from when the Torah was given to Yecheskel, the Torah says sheish, we didn't know what it was. When Yecheskel came along and said, Pishtim means sheish. Thank you very much. But what happened before Yecheskel? So he said to him, according to you, Avashi, we never learned from Moshe Rabbeinu. Nowhere in the Torah does it say that a kohen who has not done this milah because his brothers died from milah. Let's say a person, a child dies from milah and his brother dies from milah. The third child, what's the din? Doesn't do bris milah. If he's a kohen, he can't do avodah. Even though he's done nothing wrong, he can't do avodah. That halacha is not written anywhere in the Torah. And how do we know it? Avalev means somebody who's a meshumah that does averos. The Oral Bossa is, our Lev is something wrong with his heart. He's a bad, he's a wicked person. Oral Bossa is somebody just simply has got Ola. Lo Yovel Mikdosh Leshoseni, you can't serve me. So how we come to us Cheskel Manamo, how do we know it? Elogamo Kibivilos and Messiahs. Cheskel just taught it to us and brought a source for it. So therefore, there are two sources to know that bad or sheish means linen. Either because the word bad means single, and it grows as a single stalk and it doesn't split, or because of Yecheskel. If Yecheskel was one who taught it to us, what do we know till then? It was Messiah, and Yecheskel was one who revealed it to us. So now we know that whenever the Torah uses the word sheish, for example, all the clothes of the Kohen Head were all sheish, they were all sixfold. Moshza. Now, what's the word moshza? There's only one place the Torah uses the word sheish moshza. It's only, moshza without the word sheish. Where does the Torah use the word moshza without sheish? I want to know this myself. It's by the pomegranates hanging off the me'il. There the Torah uses the word moshza without using the word sheish. So how many threads were they made out of? 8. Shmoina. We said it before. Minola. But also al shulei me'il mimoynet cheles v'agon tzla shoni moshza. So there were 3 materials. Pomegranates made out of blue wool, purple wool, and red wool, moshza. So there were 3 materials. Of each material, there was 8 threads. How many threads altogether? 24. Brilliant. The olive, how do we know that is 8 from each one? Moshza with paroichas. The Torah we're going to learn that the paroichas made out of 24 threads. Now the paroichas is made out of 4 materials, each one out of 6 threads. The pomegranates of the me'il were made out of 3 materials, each one out of 8 threads. But the Torah says moshza by the pomegranates and moshza by the paroichas to tell us that both had equal amount of threads. So if there's 3 materials and we learn moshza, there has to be 24 threads. So therefore we can easily work out that each material you have to make it out of 8 threads. So if we should say on the contrary, the Choshen Ephod also uses the word moshza. Later we're going to learn the Choshen Ephod made out of 28 threads, and it uses the word moshza. And so, Donin Dova Shenema Boizov, and Dova Shenema Boizov, Lafuki Chishim Ephod Shenema Benzov. By the Chishim Ephod, they had gold. Now, the pomegranates did not have gold, neither did the Paroiches have gold. So the Torah says most in three places: by the Chishim Ephod, by the Paroiches, and by the pomegranates hanging off the mill. By the Paroiches, how many threads was there in the Paroiches? Anybody know? By the 24. By the Chishim and the Ephod, how many were there? 28. By the Me'il, we don't know. But we do know it was made out of three different materials, right? Red wool, blue wool, and purple wool. And the Torah says Moshsa. So Moshe says, let's learn it out from the Moshsa of the Paroiches, which is 24 threads altogether. So here it's 8 times 3. Says, well, who told you? Maybe learn it out from the Chishim and the Ephod is 28. Says, well, I'm not going to do it from the Chishim and the Ephod. Why not from the Chishim and the Ephod? Because there it's got gold. Now, shaking both the Me'il and the Paroiches did not have gold. I would say on the contrary, Donin Begad, it's better to learn the pomegranates from the Chishim and Ephod, which are both clothes. It's actually part of the building. It's a curtain. And Donin Me'avneit, the Torah says the word by Avneit. What's the Torah say? And we know that the belt of the Kohen Gadol had 24 threads. It says, yes, it had 24 threads. So therefore, and from 4 different materials. So we know that the Me'il pomegranates had 24 threads, and then there was only 3 materials, has to be 8. So Donim Beged, and therefore Donim Avneit. And once we learn from the Avneit, we're Donim Beged, we're Dova Shalina Boizov, we Beged Dova Shalina Boizov, we're Donim Dova Shalina Boizov, Dova Shesh Boizov. The Avneit's got 2 good things. It's got no gold, and it's an item of clothing. So the pomegranates which come off the Me'il were without gold, and they were clothing. So therefore, it's best to learn the pomegranates of the Me'il from the Avneit, which was also in that 24. But that Moyoma, just 3 more lines, we'll stop. But Moyoma Ta'asenu Kasiv. But the Chishim Ephod said you shall make it. Ta'asenu Lezev Le'achem. Nothing else was comparable to the Chishim Ephod. Ta'asenu, make it. Only those had 28. Nothing else had 28. You shall make it. Now, can you divide 28 by 3? No. Can you divide 24 by 3? Yes. Now, the Torah says, V'osisa, when you come to the pomegranates of the Me'il, V'osisa means you shall make it in equal measures. Now, it's impossible to make it in equal measures when you've got 3 materials and have 28 threads. But if you've got 24 threads, you can. So, what now explains it at great length, but it's very straightforward, that the reason we don't end up from the Me'il and the Chishim because it won't work out. Shiur now it's lost at so make it 10, 10, 10. Have a look lost, it comes to 30. Now we trade the Tisha, make 2 out of 9. Tisha V'chadasa, 1 out of 10. It's impossible. So there's 3 reasons why we don't learn from the Chishim and Ephod. What are the 3 reasons? Waking up tonight at 5 o'clock in the morning and asking, what's the 3 reasons that we learn the pomegranates of the Me'il, Dafka from the Avneit and not from the Chishim and Ephod? There are 3 reasons. What are the 3 reasons? Chishim Ephod had gold. This one didn't have gold. Second of all, the gold pushed away. Chishim Ephod is a clothing. You couldn't learn it because it's a clothing. So that's not a good reason. Don't say because of clothing. Because it's impossible. Because if it's going to be 28, you're never going to get 28 divided by 3. Or because it says Ta'asenu, do it by the Chishim Ephod, which is only the Chishim Ephod have 24 threads. So the shirts of the Kohen Head, how many threads have each one? 6. The Me'il, the pomegranates of the Me'il, how many? 24, 8 times 3. Chishim Ephod, how many did they have? 28. Paroiches, how many did they have? 24. And tomorrow we're going to continue with this very interesting topic, and Aleph Beis bottom line.